Bobby. Yeah. This bit you're talking about. Yeah, just run it. Yeah.
We are live.
I got 624. 627. I think we got speak there. Spell. Well, see if that works. What works? 160 something. It says a name. So. I don't know about that.
So, Susan and I got new phones last week. Our other ones were way older than that. And I'm still trying to get used to the new phone, even though it's the same kind of model. It does, it's like, okay, if you want to advance something, this one's on the right-hand side where the other one was on the left-hand side.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all that kind of crap that you're just going, what do I do?
This is,
Change things just to change them.
this is John Evans' birthday,
Was it really? Dude,
86.
87? 86. Yeah, he told me he was 10 years older than me.
We're all moving in the same direction, guys.
As long as we keep moving, I'll be quite happy.
Yeah, movement
Movement
is
is
good.
the key.
Yeah.
My inspiration gives me, that's my hope for the future.
So, we have this lady in our Sunday school class who's 90. And at her birthday in the Sunday school class, we asked her what her key to success was for longevity. And she said, it's simple. You just keep moving. Just keep moving.
Good advice.
Tobacco, try to walk around.
Yeah,
She gets up about 5:40. I used to,
5:40.
and I would sleep at about 6:20. She'll come up and she'll go, are you going to walk today? And I'm praying and say yes.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
So I'm not a five.
Well, it's something I said.
6 to 6:30.
Well, and this is
Stand.
public hearing. I don't know when people figure. We don't have to have.
You're lucky.
Oh, but I just.
Yeah, but
She
Yeah,
goes,
I was just like, I'm feeling a little lonely down this.
and Chris is.
Yes, we do.
Some of them.
Yeah, he's traveling.
He's in Scotland.
Yeah, exactly. I was there. John, and then we don't know what Frank is.
So
Did anybody figure out what?
we were.
haven't heard anything. I'm expecting him today.
In the evening, a week or so ago,
David said he had a lengthy talk with some.
trying to go into the news section, whatever. Where they-
Breakers.
It is.
Breakers. And the gates were closed and those
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock, is that when they do it? Like, I told Susan, the contractors couldn't get in there if you wouldn't want to give them the code. So I gotta have the open for the gates.
It's open during the day.
Open to
Sure.
I get this.
Closed.
it's upset some of the people in your neck of the woods because they can't get one subdivision to the other.
Yes.
Driving, and it's right. So
It is. I know I have a sister named Barb, a Tara Bitter, and it was Trip, is it Trip Bitter, Trip Fever, and Tara? Yes, they were the other bitters. So that's, yes, Victor Bitter was her dad, and then we weren't related. But yes, but it was odd because I only knew her because in
Oh.
film, well, in film. you go back.
It would be significant.
It was Victor William Bitter. Yeah, yes, exactly. So that's why. Absolutely. Yeah, it was,
all of the communities.
right. So it's so funny. So yes, I do know. Yes, I do know of her, and I actually know her ex-husband because Tara married her Beaver. And so I know Trip. So, yeah, so absolutely. I did have the pleasure of meeting Sarah once, just happened to understand she was delightful.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, she's a dear. Yes. Nice to meet you.
After that.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to call this meeting to order. Today's
And gal down, uh-oh. Wow. I think that's the first time I've seen that.
Today's date is Monday, June 17, 2023, and the time is approximately 6:30 p.m. We are present at Prospect City Hall in Prospect, Kentucky, in the council chamber for a public hearing held pursuant to Kentucky Revised Statute 132.027. We hear comments relating to the City of Prospect's proposed 2024 real property tax rate. I am Doug Farnsley, and I serve as Prospect's mayor. Other elected officials in attendance include council members Sarah Hines, John Evans, David Holmes, and John Clark. City Clerk John Carter, Police Chief Jeff Sherrard, and Assistant Chief Tony Denham are also present. As noted, the purpose of this hearing is to receive public comment on the proposed 2024 real property tax rate. The 2023 tax rate was 17.1 cents per $100 of assessed valuation. That rate produced revenues of $1,814,036. The compensating rate is the tax rate that would produce the same revenue in 2024 that the city received in 2023. That rate is 16.8 cents per $100 of assessed valuation. The city has proposed a rate of 17.4 cents per $100 of assessed valuation, and that rate would produce revenue of $1,920,050, an increase in revenue of $106,014 over 2023. The purpose of increased revenue is to fully fund the Prospect Police Department. When I first became involved in city government, I mistakenly assumed that when the valuation of our houses increased, our real estate taxes also increased. The law in Kentucky imposes what is called a compensating tax rate that is designed to keep a city's tax revenues flat. So even though the assessed valuation of our houses goes up, our tax bills do not increase. As a result, Prospect's real estate tax revenues have remained flat for at least the past 10 years. As I stated previously, the proposed rate of 17.4 cents per $100 assessed valuation will yield $106,000 in additional revenue for the city. The owner of a house appraised at $1 million can expect to pay $30 more in tax in 2024 than they paid in 2023. Similarly, a house appraised at $500,000 would lead to a $15 increase in the amount paid. In 2023, two Prospect police officers resigned to join other departments that paid their officers more than Prospect does. One of those officers went to LaGrange and one moved to the Louisville Metro Police Department. Because the amount that Prospect pays its officers has been near the bottom among departments in this area, Prospect has not been able to recruit officers to fill those vacancies. The reduced number of police officers in Prospect has put us in a position of not being able to fully staff all shifts. We currently have shifts when we do not have a police officer in duty in the city. When that occurs, Louisville Metro Police provides coverage for Prospect. The result is that response time increases considerably from 5 minutes to 20 to 30 minutes or longer. Because of our police staffing challenge, I have proposed a budget for our council's consideration that would increase pay to our full-time officers from approximately $60,000 per year to $76,000 per year. This would move Prospect from near the bottom to the top half of departments in our area. Our chief and assistant chief believe that this level of compensation will benefit the city in two ways. First, the city will be less likely to lose additional officers. And second, the city will have a better chance of recruiting qualified officers to fill the vacancies in our department. If you would like to speak today, and if you've not signed up, please let me know so that I can add you to the sign-up list. We allow 3 minutes per speaker. With that said, I will call upon those who have signed up to speak. First, I'll call on John Bishop. If you'd step up to the lectern, John. 3 minutes.
I'm John Bishop. I live at 7517. I'm a resident of about 21 years here in Prospect. When we moved to Prospect years ago, there's a lot of things that attracted us here. The safety of the residents, one of the things that certainly us. I fully back the need to raise our compensation for our police department. Let me get that out of the way, make sure that's done. I'd also like to add a few other things here. I had a conversation with an officer at another department. And we did not compete with them at J-Town. I know him very well because he's my son. And I asked him, I said, Jim, tell me about the recruitment. Tell me. He made this comment and it fell back into basic economics. Those of you who have been in business will understand this. If you've got so much of a labor pool and you still have a diminishing labor pool and you have a consistent or increasing need, okay, the price has got to go up, it becomes competitive, bring those people into your department, in this case, police department. He made a comment to me that when he hired into LPD initially, there was a large number of people in that pool. Today, it's a very small number. I'm not into the specifics, but it's a fact. In J-Town, which has historically been known as the top A department in the state, you know, they're down. They aren't anymore. They're down supposedly 2 people out of the list. So he said your pool, the ability to go out and hire, they've lost 2 people. He said he didn't know this to be positive, but the rumor was that LMPD was offering some rehire bonuses to people who had experience in previously with LMPD. So, you know, we've indicated we lost 1 LMPD. I would certainly think about that. I would not only look at what we need to do today, but I would strongly encourage a small committee, whatever, to look at what needs to be done in the near future. So we're not ambushed going down the road here and start losing people, or, you know, what we need to do to hire people who have experience. You know, one of the things that's popped up lately that caught my attention, you know, we don't compete with Jeffersonville, Indiana. They've got starting stuff. Please don't quote me, but you know, it appears to be $66,000 to start with. And a 5-day, straight 5-day, 4-day off. And I think those two serve, you know, that's an incentive. So I think things go beyond the dollars and cents, and not only the respect of the community, the respect of the administration, respect of leadership, whatever, but those kind of incentives that makes the officer's life better. So, giving that, hopefully not past for 3 minutes, but I'll be able to bring.
Thank you.
Perfect time.
Perfect timing. Thank you, John, for your comments. Also signed up is Ed Armento.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilman, Council Lady. My name is Ed Armenta. I'm a Big Prospect resident since 1993. I was born in Manhattan, New York City, and every morning I thank God I live in Prospect. And it's a great place to live. And the main thing that I want to talk about tonight is not to get into salaries and all, but the importance of law enforcement in maintaining security of the citizens. It's the most important thing that any government does. President's responsibility to maintain security for the country, and mayor of small towns to maintain security for the people that live there. What you read in the papers about crime going down, I don't believe it. Okay, I think crime is on the rise. I think maybe reporting crime is going down for a number of reasons, either politically or just they don't have the resources to report it. But as you see, a lot of major cities now are seeing crime come out of the suburbs. And I think we're going to see that here. We're seeing already part of it here. So I think it's very important that we have a very good attendant police department, which we have, but we need to back them. We need to give them the salaries they need to do the job. And, you know, I've been in the FBI for 32 years, worked for the Joint Terrorism Task Force for 2 years as an analyst, an agent for most of my career, and I've worked very closely with police officers. And Prospect has always had a great reputation of being quality, well-trained police department. And I think that this will help to maintain it and go forward and maintain the security and safety that we need and enjoy every day. Thank you.
Thanks, Ed. Appreciate you being here. Appreciate your remarks. And Lee Tucci is also signed up. Lee?
Lee Tucci, 7301 Foxborough Place, Prospect, resident here for 33 years. And I fully support adding the additional revenue to the city to maintain and enhance the police department. Police department is a very important function of our fine functioning government. We need to maintain it and build and support.
Thank you, Lee. Appreciate that. Oh, good.
Sandy G.C. 7301 Foxwood Place, Prospect, Kentucky, also here for 33 years, on council for 20 years. Before I came here, I was on the school board in 2 school boards in Pennsylvania for 6 years. Twice while I was on that school board, I voted against the budget because there wasn't enough money in it. You get what you pay for. And the budget wasn't big enough to take care of the school children in that district. After that, the budget went up. I got reelected anyhow because we needed the money. You get what you pay for. And here, what we need to do is pay for a sufficient police department to maintain the quality we've had for 33 years.
Thank you, Sandy. We appreciate you being here and appreciate those good remarks. Anyone else who wants to speak on this topic? If not, I'll declare this public hearing. Any of the council members have anything to add?
I want to thank Sandy Tucci for her many, many years of service, including her writing a column for the newsletter every month for about the books that we should read. She's just done a terrific job in Prospect. I'm so glad to know her.
Sandy, we appreciate you being here. Appreciate your remarks this evening. Thanks so much.
The neat thing about the oath of office you take in Pennsylvania on the school board is you vote to take care of the school children. That relieves your conscience. You know what you have to do then.
Yeah.
So it's fun to swear that you didn't ever have a tool, but I.
Thanks again, Sandy. Well, thanks, everyone. I'll declare this public hearing adjourned. We'll start the council meeting in 15 minutes.
I told you I'd get this. Oh. Great honor.
When you say, Joe, what exactly?
Really enjoying working with her. She's very organized.
No, she went to put, she was here this morning.
Okay.
She was here this morning. She put another poster. Yes. Fox Harbor, Fox got stung by just as a hornet. It's nested in the kiosk. She couldn't even walk the kiosk. She called me up, Brian, she was going, she's fine now.
Which kiosk?
We're here at Fox Harbor. I didn't even know there was a entrance. Yeah, that's Fox Valley Drive. I'm not familiar.
I don't even know.
It's a little dead end and it ends right there at the edge of Putney Common and there's a little entrance there.
Yeah, there is a little entrance.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I didn't know there was a kiosk.
I didn't either. So when she called me for help, I was like, I got turned around. a couple
Bless her heart.
Bacon soda. Right.
Wasp bite is much worse than the bee sting.
Oh, yeah. Study for the wasp. Yeah. Guess I'm lucky.
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
Long as you.
Well.
Good evening, everyone. This is Monday, May 17, 2024. This is the City of Prospect, Kentucky regular city council meeting. The time is 7 p.m. I'll call the meeting to order. First item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of the May 20, 2024 and May 30, 2024 city council meetings. Those have been distributed. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the May 20 meeting?
Yeah, I have one comment. On the second page. Second paragraph up. Where I mentioned, David Nyer mentioned, I think the last sentence, I think it's more correct to say there are plans to hold a committee meeting. And the public, of course, would be invited.
Are there other comments or corrections to the May 20, 2024 city council minutes? If not, is there a motion to approve the minutes as corrected?
So moved.
Second.
Mayor Evans made that motion. John Clark seconded it. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The minutes are approved. Next are the minutes of the May 30, 2024 special city council meeting. Those have been distributed. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
I'll move.
Second.
John Clark made the motion. Sarah Hines seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Minutes also stand approved. The next item on the agenda is comments from citizens. We have two folks signed up and they will are allowed up to 3 minutes to speak. The first is Carolyn Embry. Carolyn, if you'd step up.
My name is Carolyn Embry. I live at 8,000 feet, way in Open Fort. And I'm speaking tonight on ordinance 43, dealing with soil cats. When the original ordinance was first introduced into city council back in the fall, I spoke in opposition to it, as did several other citizens, because they're concerned that it was too restrictive, unnecessarily restrictive. To the mayor's credit, he heard our concerns and he appointed a committee to revisit the issues and suggest possible revisions to the ordinance. When we first convened the committee, it took us a while to realize that most of us didn't have the technical expertise to make revisions that were both technically sound and reflective of best practices. So we knew that we needed some help. And so I called him. This is a friend that I have known for decades.
She and I have served on numerous environmental panels in the past. She is a licensed engineer and is retired from a position of senior engineer with MSD. She currently is executive director of the Louisville Climate Action Network. I tell you all of this just to say that the person she referred me to, Steve Ricketts, who is on your agenda to hear from tonight, comes to us on good authority, so to speak. Mr. Ricketts is truly an expert in the field, having spent years in the solar industry himself and having installed solar panels on hundreds of businesses and homes, not only in Kentucky, but in several other states. So he has been invaluable to our efforts to work through the issues and to come up with revisions that we feel are truly a compromise that strike a fair and reasonable balance. I want to thank Councilman Don Gibson for his leadership on the committee, and also Councilwoman Sarah Hines for her involvement and support as well. The revised ordinance that we have before you tonight was passed unanimously by our solar committee. And I'm pleased to commend it to you for your consideration tonight. As I hope most of you know, I love this community, but I also love our planet. And I hope that our generation will have the wisdom to preserve and protect it to the best of our ability, and to remove any unnecessary obstacles that would hinder people from saving energy and reducing their carbon footprint. So when this ordinance comes before you for first reading tonight, I respectfully ask for your vote. And as always, thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Carolyn. John Shelby is also signed up to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. My name is John Shelby, and I am a resident and homeowners association board member of Woodlands, Harris Street, in the land use neighborhood. I was also on this ad hoc committee asked to review the initial proposal regulation of solar panel installations in the city of Prospect. I rise to give my support to the revised resolution as you just heard. Attention, Carolyn Brown, regarding the regulation of solar panel installations on residential rooftops in the city limits of Prospect. I've lived in Prospect for nearly 10 years and have been pleased by the actions taken by the city of Prospect to improve the lives of its citizens, with such examples as the park system, the annual tree giveaway, recycling system, and now an ordinance that will allow homeowners to buy solar panel systems in an organized fashion that will help assure the homeowner from the ability to acquire high-quality systems installed by vetted professionals, as well as maintaining the aesthetic quality of sound. I'm grateful to Mr. Stevens because I helped guide us in making these provisions as well as is willing to provide ongoing consultation with individuals who might eventually install a residential solar system. So I stand for the resolution as amended.
Thank you, John. Next item on the agenda is the mayor's report. So our first report on recent successful events held at the John Evans Pavilion. Those included a June 9 concert featuring the Rumors, a popular band from Southern Indiana. Planning committee arranged for a food truck to be present, and that proved to be a popular addition with those in attendance. The concert drew a good crowd, and everyone enjoyed the evening. A second event at the pavilion took place on Saturday morning, June 15. The Sons of the American Revolution held a brief Flag Day ceremony that those of us in attendance found to be informative, meaningful, and enjoyable. This Saturday, June 22, from 10 a.m. through noon, there will be a Kids Fest at the pavilion that will include music, face painting, balloon figures, and other activities. So we hope you and grandchildren and children will attend and enjoy that event. We have a full agenda this evening, including consideration of a first reading to an ordinance that would amend the city's solar ordinance. When the council approved the current solar ordinance, it did so with the understanding that a committee would consider amendments that would make the ordinance less restrictive. A committee comprised of Don Gibson, Sarah Hines, Carolyn Embry, John Shelby, and Randall Reifsnyder reviewed the ordinance and consulted with Steve Ricketts, the chairperson of a nonprofit organization, the Kentucky Solar Energy Society. Mr. Ricketts is retired from Yum Brands, where he served as a senior executive. Following his retirement, Mr. Ricketts worked in the solar industry. Mr. Ricketts is present this evening. He will make remarks and will be available to answer any questions. As a courtesy to Mr. Ricketts, I'm changing the order on the agenda. We will consider the amended solar ordinance as our first order of business once we reach the business portion of the agenda. The council will also consider giving second readings and approval to 4 ordinances. Those ordinances include Ordinance 638, establishing the ad valorem tax rate for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2024. Before this meeting started this evening at 6:30, we held a public hearing at which citizens had the opportunity to address the proposed tax rate. And 3 citizens spoke in favor of the proposed tax rate and the additional funds that it would produce to support our police. There were no other speakers at the public hearing. Ordinance 639 establishes the budget for the coming fiscal year. As I mentioned at the special council meeting held last Friday, we will ask the council to consider amending the budget ordinance to reflect a $20,000 increase in our insurance premiums. As I noted on Friday, City Attorney Gorman advised that this change to the budget ordinance would not require a new first reading. Ordinance 640, establishing the budget for the Municipal Road Aid Fund, will also be considered. And Ordinance 641, establishing a budget for the Capital Investment Fund, will also be considered. All 4 of those ordinances are on the agenda this evening for second reading. New business that will be considered this evening, in addition to the ordinance amending the city's solar ordinance, includes the following 3 items. First, the council will consider a resolution calling on the post office to maintain a post office in the city's business district. Second, the council will consider approving a municipal order that would create an architectural review committee. The order includes the appointment of 3 members to the advisory committee: Herb Schulhafer, Kathy Sauer, and Bob Jacob. The committee will represent the city in dealing with businesses that seek to build and prospect in much the same way that our forestation board worked with Chase Bank on the plans for the removal of trees from their building site. The committees will also advise the council when it is called upon to approve plans for commercial construction. And the final item of new business that will be considered this evening for first reading is an ordinance that would amend the city's forestation ordinance. The draft ordinance in the council meeting packet has been approved by the Forestation Board and has the support of 3 members of the council's committee that studied alternative versions of an amended Forestation Board ordinance. Now we'll move to reports. Right, monthly financial report. John?
Excuse me, I'm going to summarize May's financial reports distributed to the council last week. Cash on hand as of May 31 was $3.8 million. That comprised of our checking of about $200,000, a money market account with Republic Bank of $30,000, and our investments with KLC Investments of $3.5 million. The breakdown of the KLC investment includes a money market account of $2 million, an enhanced equity fund of $1.5 million, and now an S&P 500 investment of $31,400. Looking at revenues and expenditures, we're on track. Our revenue is actually at 107% budgeted, so we're over on income. And we've spent roughly 90% of our expenditures at this date. The restricted road revenue fund now amounts to 288,000 and change. And with that, I will entertain any questions.
Projected surplus.
Projected surplus this year.
It's in the amended budget. It's in the council packet. Think
Something like that.
better than $100,000.
That sounds right.
144,596.
Excellent. Thank you.
Okay, if there are no further questions for John, we'll move on with reports. Forestation Board reports. Linda.
Station that went for that. We had a very productive meeting. I have a great meeting. Andrea is on vacation, so she was not able to join us and provide her updates. One of the things we did talk about is the Perkins Park. We created a new form, think better optimism, cases of research, and we kind of have a plan of action. So I gave copies of some of the examples to Doug, and he's planning to set up a meeting with the chief and with Mike. So we're trying to look at how it has worked with code enforcement. So that was a pretty worthwhile. We did talk about July's coming up. We partner with Parks and Recreation again, and table with the brochures and answer questions, hopefully get people involved with any of the programs. And last but not least, we did have some discussion on the ordinance being reviewed tonight. It's been a long time coming. There have been a lot of people involved, and I'd like to thank everybody for support. I'm hard to always bring everybody ideas together, but we're headed in the right direction. And I don't know if you have any questions for me on anything from the first page meeting.
Any questions for Linda? Thank you for your report. The next report on the agenda is Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee. Linda Wardell.
The advisory committee met last Monday. There's a lot of exciting things going on in the parks. First thing is the site preparation work is done with the York Street Spring Crossing Bridge project. And this began, it's been a long time coming, and it's nice to see people on the ground and making preparations. Rod is working with Forest Main Construction to eliminate any obstructions along the park road. This is a prefabricated bridge which will be in two pieces. That's pretty big, and that's one lane road with a big turn at the bottom. So we just hope they have a really good driver to try bringing it down. Later this month, we will be meeting with the representatives to discuss next steps, develop a grant application on the work on. So we're eager to keep things moving on that project. Again, Putney Pond and Woodland, new directional trail markers have been installed. And the committee worked to name the trails to honor individuals and scouts who have made significant contributions to the development of this park. So I encourage you to see that opportunity. I'd also like to thank Ron and his crew for cleaning up, keeping the parks as clear after a lot of branches and trees have come down on the system. As the mayor mentioned, we've got programs in the park in the John Evans Pavilion, the River Stadium, and the reports of break. Everyone loved the food truck. We're going to be looking into doing that again. We're also very excited about Kids Fest, which will take place this Saturday. It should be a lot of fun. The music will include a performance by C7, which is an ensemble of Louisville upper percussion
So it's going to be loud, but it's outside, so that's okay. And there'll be lots of crafts, feeling and lots of things. If anyone is interested in volunteering, they can call City Hall and they will be put in touch with the member Sal Snyder, who's coordinating volunteers. And then I'd just like to say upcoming parks programs include another adopt, I believe, 3 months in July. So look for more information on that. And then in fall, we will once again get the parents for the trail match. Remember, it's the Sunday before Thanksgiving. So you might if you want to do trail. And finally, I want to do a little trail town. Ron has worked to redesign volunteer t-shirts. And he created this logo, making it happen, Parks Volunteers. And on the back, building a better community prospect, through better parks. Building a better community through better parks. That's prospect volunteers. That's that. So I'm happy to answer your questions. You should be.
Any questions for Linda? Thank you, Linda. Then the next item on the printed agenda is the presentation by Mr. Ricketts, but that's going to wait till we get to that item of business. So the next report that we'll ask for is Don Gibson with a report from the Jefferson County League of Cities.
Well, the last Jefferson County League of Cities event was a Magic Bats game. And this is for all the cities that belong to the Jefferson County League of Cities, which is about 80. Prospect had the best show up. We had 21, Saban versus Saints. We had 7 or 8, so it's a good turnout. The Bats have a wonderful program, but not that night. They lost something like 13-3. And, I'm hoping Kentucky does better. Under the game tonight, it started about 20 minutes ago.
Questions for Don? Don, thank you for the report. The game, it was hot, but the game, it was fun, even with the loss. All right, so we'll move to new business. And as I said, we're going to take the police. I'm sorry, I skipped a report.
So this has been on. Fortunately, would say it was another slow month, but actually it wasn't. And the reason it wasn't is because of the same recurring problem that everybody in the East End has been having. We had 4 reported burglaries for a month, which is, I can't tell you how unusual that is for the city of Prospect, because we have actually had years where we had none. And have 4 reported in a month. So just blows my mind. Oh, the truth behind every one, every single one of those was because somebody left the car unlocked. They had the garage door opener inside the car. They came out, they hit the button, they went in the garage, and they found an unlocked access door to the home. So if they go inside, that becomes a door. Even though nobody's forced the door, they've done nothing other than, get inside and try to open the door. They hit 2 buttons, they're inside the house. We and everybody else are extremely fortunate that usually they'll just go right into the kitchen, grab usually car keys, take off with another car, and then leave. If there's a purse out, they may rummage through the purse, take whatever cash they have left behind, other valuables, computers, things like that. They're not interested in that stuff. Most part, it's cash. Things like that. We also recovered 2 stolen cars in the month where they were stolen elsewhere and left here. So we get to report that too. So our crime stats for the month just went like this, and really overselling stuff that was entirely preventable. If people would have just listened to me, Mark, for the last 12 years about so like, oh God, lock your car. That's a really easy thing to do. And if you don't lock, do not, under any circumstance, leave the key fob in the car. Don't leave it in the console where all you do is walk in, sit down, and push the button, and then you leave. That, I mean, that's crazy. Yeah. So it's not just us. Michael McKeon is Sergeant who keeps track of all the stats. From May 1st through June 12th, not quite a full 6 weeks, Louisville Metro had 429 vehicles stolen in less than a 6-week period. It's all the same group that's doing it. Last week, they caught two groups of them. But we are fortunate that of those 429, over 400 have already been caught. Because 2 days later, cars show up in downtown. Because we've actually got a grid map that shows us where they all show up. And it lights up. And if it's really bright colored yellow, that's where they're all done. And downtown Louisville just glows like it's the sun. Because that's where they all are. That's where all the cars are done. There's a little teeny section on South Preston Highway where that looks like a bike. It doesn't look like this. But that's about the only 2 spots where these cars are done. Now, as far as the thefts, it's still oddly enough, most of the thefts are still downtown. But then they spread out a little bit, Preston Highway and is eaten up. And then as you go out in the East End, you see a little bit in the change of colors from nothing happening to a little bit. The only glitch in this system is these are just reports that go through the Louisville Metro reporting system. Our reports don't go within. They have their own reporting system that's unique to everybody else's. Every other police department in the state, we all use the same system. But that's not reflected in most of the solution order. We probably have a full solid the last 6 weeks. Yeah, that's full. So our 4 won't show up. But the recoveries will show up down there because they take a report and make. So I think I've talked about the meetings. But it's not going to help because next week we're going to have more. Because this is an ongoing process. But it's not this year, it's over in Morgan County, it's out in Orleans. It's over in Lake Forest. It is what it is.
Yeah, did the other small cities share information with you, give you a kind of
Yes.
idea?
Michael McKeon's on like this thing, the investigatory task force thing. He's got calls in from Louisville Metro investigators that were involved in catching the 2 groups last week. That was a part of an investigative detail that they had. They actually had a bunch of guys that were working undercover that were working those 2 nights. They had the helicopter involved in it. And they actually, these guys took off running, but it didn't make any difference because the helicopter. So, and they followed the car down to the west end and they watched them jump out of the car, go to the apartments. And then they picked them up and said, "We're in the apartment."
Chief, our collisions, I noticed there's 14 with 5 injury accidents. Are those mostly on US 42?
Yes, and I didn't bring that with me today, but McKeon also pulled up the reports, and I don't remember the time frame he did, but he went through our reporting system and he pulled up all of the accident reports and everything, and it's exactly the way that you would think. It's for the most part right along this area of the business district, and for the most part, I mean, you get some of those. For the most part, it's going to be Kimber Ridge, up through River Road and then perhaps, that area there, and it's really that number. And then he went back and if you looked at all the citations that we run, and our citations are all reflective of mostly written in the area that we have most of the accidents. So we look at, so that's good that you're enforcing traffic violations, running red light, speeding in the area that you have the most traffic accidents.
What would be the ratio of daytime to nighttime incidents?
Oh, it's going to be most of the day. We have very few. In fact, like a dollar late shift, I mean, it would be unusual for me to see more than one in a year for a late watch. So there's going to be an accident. It's very, very. So between like 11 p.m. and 7 a.m., very rare. You may catch a striker, somebody going to work before 7 a.m., but it's pretty unusual for the most part. So, also a little bit later in the summer, but generally speaking, we don't have to. So if you go Sunday,
Thanks. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. Any questions for Jeff?
Now that we're actually read the file. That's why we need the truth.
there is some that these people are using. But there is a way that they can, guess you could spoof the file and then duplicate. But I think that's pretty.
I know the thing, like, you probably going to talk about, you look at weekly car, use your car, block your car, it could be sick. But I don't know if that's, what I heard now, what's the actual.
Later, it's. This would.
Thanks, Jeff. Okay, as I said earlier, we're going to change the order on the agenda. The next item we will consider is a first reading of an ordinance relating to the amendment and modification of Chapter 162, solar installations in the city of Prospect. So Mr. Ricketts is present. Steve, if you'd step forward. And I'll ask you if you would take.
Steve. Very much. Sure. Even if it's not very fast.
Well, thank you to Mayor Barnes and the City Council. I must say, it's been an incredibly kind of collegiate kind of process. I have been involved in over 3,000 solar projects in 7 states. Dealt with a lot of HOAs, cities of various sizes. And this was a joyful conversation, hopefully a very kind of easy kind of compromise. What I was going to do was really just top line 6 or 7 areas that we changed in the original ordinance so people can understand, why those kind of points were changed. We also added a few points as well to, in fact, tighten up in a few areas. So I was just going to go down that list rather than try to work through the whole thing. The intent of the changes to the ordinance were to try to come up with specific rules that could be applied and take the opinion out of the ordinance. So, Mayor Farnsley wasn't continually put in the position of having to play the wisdom of Solomon. When it came to kind of modules on a roof, we could check, did it meet the criteria we defined or not? So that was the overall intent. So, to run down the list, we actually slightly increased the requirement for electrical and building permits around any solar installation. It needs to have both of those, but equally now it needs to meet, fire setbacks and codes, which are increasingly being placed on solar installs. And we're expecting, for instance, to have, 3-foot requirements, gangways on a roof so firemen can access parts of the array in future when that arises. We've written that into the ordinance, so that will automatically, come to play in Prospect. We also allowed ground mounts. Historically in the ordinance, that ruled out ground mounts entirely. Ground mounts are quite large constructions. What we said is they are never to be seen in residential areas, but they are allowed for commercial and kind of agricultural or kind of large lot kind of properties, farm properties. But they have to have a specific setback. They have to be screened by trees or fencing as well. But it does, give those businesses the ability to make that energy choice, most frequently a cheaper energy choice for their business, and hide it from the public. So that was an example of a compromise. There were 2 or 3 areas listed in the original ordinance which fundamentally stopped all solar dead in its track. And we quickly all agreed that they were worthy of striking out. One was about the solar modules needed to meet or match the color of the roof of the home. If you have a red roof, if you've got grey shingles, if you've got a green standing seam roof, there are no modules that are in those colors. Solar modules don't come with a paint chart. They're typically black these days. So that one kind of got struck out as, not being able to be met, and if it was, it could stop with solar. There was also equally a line that was, raised concerns over reflectance from panels and nuisance it might cause to neighbours. Technically, solar panels are less reflectant than the windows in a home. So there isn't, in fact, an issue. And if solar panels are reflecting light, they're doing a very bad job because they're there to capture all the light they possibly can. So scientifically, they are less reflectant than the windows already in a house. So it didn't seem reasonable to keep that paragraph in there. So that went. And the last one we took out was the requirement to not have components of a solar system within either, depending on the component, 15 feet or 30 feet of a property line. If you kept that, that stops all solar period again, because it means you cannot have modules within 15 or 30 feet of a property line. You can't have a breaker panel. You can't have a little inverter which does the electrical work. It's a tiny box. Those are typically fairly close to a property line. They're visually very small. They don't impede anybody. They're no bigger than a meter on a house that you see in any property. So again, we took that out as we got into technical pieces as unreasonable. We then added some more controls in. We said modules must be parallel with the roof surface. You can't have modules that are cantilevered off a roof surface, hanging off at odd angles, propped up to capture every last ray of sunshine. They look ugly. It's got to be parallel with the roof, nor can modules protrude over the ridge of the house. This was an addition. So if you look at a house from the back, you can't see the modules poking out from the other side of the house in an unsightly way. So that's an example of a place where we actually put new restrictions in. We then allowed flat roof systems. So if you're a small business within the city, you've got a parapet surrounding your business, you can put modules on a flat roof, provided it meets the Kentucky Building Code for structural integrity. The building is going to support the weight, and any installer and building permit will require that is proved. If you're going to do a flat roof system. And then the 2 last ones, we are allowing on any building surface at all what's called building integrated PV, which is basically solar shingles, Tesla solar shingles. They look like shingles. They are so unobtrusive you would hardly be able to tell them from a standard roof. So there's no reason why they shouldn't be allowable on any surface. And then, the biggest compromise we struck of all was to say, we will not have solar panels on the main front right-of-way facing side of the house. So if I have my drive, my entrance door, my solar panels are not going on that road-facing side, but they can go on the sides of the house. They can go on the rear of the house, but not the front. So those are the main points. We put in some electrical requirements. We put in some additional design requirements. We compromised on the sides of the house. and we allowed a bit more flexibility for commercial enterprises to do ground mounts, flat roofs.
Thank you. Any questions for Steve?
I have a question, Steve. Can you explain the difference between ballast and attachment mounted?
Yes, I mean, typically, ballasted is for commercial situations, and it's imagine you have a flat roof, they're literally just weighed down with concrete blocks. Simple as that. Only in extremis do you want to attach to a building, because if you've got a lovely new roof on a building, that you do not want to puncture it. You put an array up there, you weigh it down with concrete, you do a structural survey to make sure it can take that concrete load.
Thank you.
I must have proposed ordinance that this must be wrong. Because you said that what the new proposal is would prevent facing the street installations. Am I correct?
That's right, yeah.
Well, that's not what this says. It strikes out. Here it says no. See? Yeah.
No.
Let Don explain this to me. My problem with this is I have seen solar panels on roofs that face the street and they're just ugly. I just don't want to see that happen here. And if you can guarantee me that this prevents that, then okay.
That's explicitly written out. Yeah.
Yeah, you and I had the same problem with the same house that we've seen on River Road that has solar panels going in every different direction. So that's wrong. Yeah, pretty ugly. Okay.
That was probably the biggest point of kind of discussion and compromise, and I can guarantee that is not allowed in the ordinance amendments.
Okay, I'll ask if there's a motion to give a first reading. Ordinance 643.
Make a motion.
Second.
Mr. Gibson made the motion. Ms. Hines seconded it. Is there discussion? Not, are we ready for a vote? I'll call the rolls. Sarah Hines?
Yes.
Don Gibson?
Yes.
John Everett?
Everyone stay until I get a chance to. So,
Sure, okay. And David Holmes?
yes.
John Clark?
Yes.
Frank Fulcher?
Yes.
Okay, so it's approved by a vote of five with one abstention, 5 in favor, 1 abstention. And so we need to read the ordinance. Don Gibson, would you read the title and the number?
Ordinance number 643, series 2024, an ordinance relating to the amendment and modification of chapter 162, solar installation of the City of Prospect Code of Ordinance for that purpose.
Okay. Mr. Ricketts, thanks so much for your help. We appreciate it.
My pleasure.
That's the first reading. We'll bring this up at the next council meeting for a second reading and possible approval. Next item on the agenda is a series of second readings, starting with second reading of ordinance 638, which is the ad valorem tax rate. Is there a motion to give that ordinance a second reading?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Mayor Evans made the motion. John Clark seconded. Is there discussion?
I'd like to propose an amendment that the rate be 17.10 cents of each $100, which is the current rate.
Okay. Is there a second to that motion? Okay, I think the motion then fails for the lack of a second. Is there discussion on the ordinance? Any further discussion? Not, we're ready for a vote. I'll start with John Evans.
Yes.
Don Gibson.
Yes.
Sarah Hines.
Yes.
David Holmes.
Yes.
John Clark.
Yes.
Frank Fulcher.
No.
Okay, so that ordinance is approved by a vote of 5 to 1, I believe. So now we need to read it. I'll read it. It's City of Prospect Ordinance number 638, Series 2024. An ordinance establishing an ad valorem tax rate for the City of Prospect for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2024, and ending June 30, 2025. So the next item on the agenda is second reading of ordinance 639. An ordinance establishing the budget for the general fund of the city of Prospect for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2024, and ending June 30, 2025. Is there a motion to give a second reading to and to approve that ordinance?
Mayor, is this the one that reflects the $20,000?
Yes, and I have a,
So that, does that need to be amended?
it will after we've made the motion.
Okay.
If there's a motion to give that a second reading and approve that ordinance.
So move.
Mayor Evans made that motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, so David Holmes has mentioned that would propose to amend the budget to create because of the $20,000 increase in insurance premiums that will be due from the city in the coming year. So David, if this looks acceptable to you, I might ask you to take a quick look at it, and then if it's okay, if you would make that motion.
I move that we amend ordinance 639, series 2024, by increasing revenues under the appropriation of existing surplus by an additional $20,000 for a total of $48,707, increasing city administration expenditure by additional $20,000 for a total of $970,392.
Is there a second for the motion to amend?
Second.
John Clark has seconded. Is there this? So we're now discussing the motion to amend the ordinance. Is there discussion on the motion to amend? If not, are you ready to vote on the motion to amend? I'll ask for a roll call. Sarah Hines,
Yes.
John Gibson,
Yes.
John Evans,
Yes.
David Holmes,
Yes.
John Clark,
Yes.
Frank Fulcher.
Yes.
Right now, the discussion is on the ordinance and as amended, ordinance 639, an ordinance establishing the budget for the general fund as amended. Is there further discussion on the ordinance? If not, are we ready for vote on its second reading and approval? So I'll start the roll call with David Holmes,
Yes.
John Clark,
Yes.
Frank Fulcher,
No.
and John Evans,
Yes.
Tom Gibson,
Yes.
Sarah Hines.
Yes.
So that's the budget is approved by vote as amended. It's approved by a vote of 5-1. Can we read it again?
Yeah.
Would you do that?
Amended ordinance 639, series 2024, an ordinance establishing a budget for the general fund of the city of Prospect for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2024, and ending June 30th, 2025.
Thank you. So the next item on the agenda is the second reading of ordinance 640, series 2024, an ordinance establishing the municipal road aid fund, the city of Prospect for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2024, ending July 1, 2025. Is there a motion to give that ordinance a second reading?
I'll move.
John Clark made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Frank Fulcher seconded. Is there discussion on the motion to approve, to give a second reading to and to approve the budget for the municipal road aid fund? In the absence of discussion, I'll ask for a roll call vote. David Holmes,
Yes.
John Clark,
Yes.
Frank Fulcher,
Yes.
John Evans,
Yes.
Tom Gibson,
Yes.
Sarah Hines.
Yes.
So that's approved by a vote of 6-0.
Ordinance number 640, series 2024, an ordinance establishing a budget for the municipal road aid fund for the city of Prospect for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2024, and ending June 30th, 2025.
Thank you, David. So the next item on the agenda is ordinance 641, series 2024, an ordinance establishing a budget for the capital investment fund of the city of Prospect for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2024, and ending June 30, 2025. Is there a motion to give that ordinance a second reading and approve it?
So move.
Second.
Don Gibson moved and Sarah Hines seconded. Is there discussion? If not, I'll call the roll. Frank Fulcher,
Yes.
John Clark,
Yes.
David Holmes.
Yes.
John Evans,
Yes.
Don Gibson,
Yes.
Sarah Hines. So that ordinance is approved by a vote of 6-0, and I'll read that. It's ordinance 641, series 2024, an ordinance establishing a budget for the capital project fund of the city of Prospect for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2024, and ending June 30, 2025. So the next item on the agenda is ordinance 642, an ordinance amending the budget. This is amending the current year's budget. We gave this ordinance a first reading at a special meeting held on this past Friday. So this is ordinance 642, series 2024, an ordinance amending the budget for the general fund of the city of Prospect for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2023, and ending June 30, 2024. And this largely changes the revenue numbers in a positive direction. There's more revenue than anticipated, and also takes into account the expenditure of funds for the cleanup from the tornado. So is there a motion to give a second reading to ordinance 642?
So moved.
Sarah Hines made the motion. Is there a second? John Evans seconded. Is there discussion? If not, I'll ask for the yeas and nays. Sarah Hines?
Yes.
Don Gibson?
Yes.
John Evans?
Yes.
David Holmes?
Yes.
Don Clark?
Yes.
Frank Fulcher?
Yes.
That's approved 6-0. I'll give that the second reading. Ordinance 642, series 2024, an ordinance amending the budget for the general fund of the city of Prospect for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2023, and ending June 30, 2024. Okay, the next, I think now we move back to new business. Those were all second readings. The first item in new business is a resolution number 1, series 2024, a resolution of the city of Prospect requesting the United States Postal Service to relocate local post office within city limits. Is there a motion to approve that resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Fulcher made the motion. John Clark seconded. Is there discussion?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
The first whereas in here says that we've had a post office in Prospect for all of our 50 years of existence. Somebody will have to confirm that for me because I don't remember that. Who knows that?
The post office might know.
I asked the post office that.
Okay, is there discussion, further discussion on the resolution, proposed resolution? Have we had a motion and a second?
Yes.
Okay. In that case, I'll ask for a roll call. Frank Fulcher,
Yes.
John Clark,
Yes.
David Holmes, yes. John Evans,
Yes.
Don Gibson.
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
the resolution is approved by a vote of 6-0, and I will communicate this resolution to the appropriate folks at the post office.
Great. Thanks, Joe.
The next item on the agenda is a proposed municipal order, municipal order number 3, series 2024, in order. This says consenting to the nominations by the mayor of citizens of the city to serve on the city of Prospect Architectural Review Committee. And actually, the order creates an architectural review committee and then fills the vacancies or fills 3 spots on that review committee. Is there a motion to approve this order?
So moved.
We don't, do we have the order?
There is a
I don't know.
I don't need it. It should be.
I've got it. I can copy this.
I'm going to read it.
I can, yeah, I'll just read it out loud. It's short. Whereas Chapter 150.56 of the City of Prospect Code of Ordinances provides for the establishment of an architectural review committee. Whereas an architectural review committee will assist architects and builders with all city building ordinances and will make recommendations to the city council as to whether to approve detailed development and building plans for the issuance of a preliminary certificate of approval. And whereas Mayor Farnsley nominates the following to serve on the architectural review committee beginning July 1, 2024, Herb Schulhafer and Robert Jacob, MD, and Kathy Sauer. Now, therefore, it is hereby ordered by the City Council of the City of Prospect, Kentucky. The City Council of the City of Prospect, Kentucky agrees to the creation of the Architectural Review Committee and consents to the mayor's nominations to fill positions on the committee. Passed and approved the 17th day of June, 2024. So is there a motion to approve that order?
So moved.
Tom Gibson's made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
David Holmes seconded it. Is there discussion?
Yeah, I don't know about this John Jacob guy. It's an orthopedic surgeon, even on an architectural review board. Did you pick him?
I'll plead the fifth.
You're guilty. I'm just kidding.
I know you are. Is there discussion, further discussion of the order creating and filling the vacancies on the City of Prospect Architectural Review Committee? If not, I'll ask for the yeas and nays. David Holmes.
Yes.
John Clark.
Yes.
Frank Fulcher.
Yes.
John Evans.
Yes, yes.
Don Gibson. Sarah Hines.
Yes.
So that's approved by a vote of 6-0. The next item on the agenda is second reading, ordinance 637, series 2024, an ordinance relating to the amendment and modification of chapter 97, trees and forestation of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Prospect. Is there?
Doug, before you get into that, I have two procedural questions.
Sure.
Dealing with this. This is not the consensus document that was prepared through the city council appointed committee and the committee's appointed subcommittee. So that document exists. It was given to everybody last month. But this is not it. So the council created the committee with a charge to produce a it's hard to say consensus because there is some controversy, but produce a document to the council that they can then proceed with with following it up. What we have not yet done that. We're one meeting shy of the committee reporting to council for that particular thing. So the next step is that David and Sarah and I have to have a meeting to okay what document comes before the council. I mean, it's a city council committee with a certain charge that we have sidestepped that with this game. I was away all week, as everybody knows, but when I saw this, I said, well, hey, that's not what we worked so hard to come by. I mean, Linda, Senator Leonard, and myself, and this is just not that document.
So on June 13th, there was a joint meeting of the Forestation Committee and the Council's Committee. And I know you were out of town, but the other members of the Council's Committee were present at that meeting. And the Forestation Board unanimously recommended the adoption of this ordinance that's in the packet for first reading. And the members of the council who were present, I believe, supported the Forestation Board's recommendation. So this is before the council for a first reading. If the council wants to give it a first reading, that's up to the council.
Well, I have another question regarding that. I spoke to David today, and I got the impression that the council committee meeting was not noticed, therefore it was not an official meeting. The Open Meetings Act says that would have to happen.
Well, I don't have the notice for that meeting in front of me, but I think it was pretty clear that it was a meeting of both the council committee and the Forestation Board. In any event, this is before the council tonight for your first reading, if the council wants to give it a first reading. It's not before the council for approval. It's before the council for a first reading. So I'll ask if there is a motion to give this ordinance a first reading. Is there a motion to give it a first reading?
I make that motion to give it a first reading with the caveat that at the next city council meeting, we put on Frank's version B. I disagree with Frank saying that that was the draft document of the whole committee. I think that was Frank's draft of the whole subject. I think that's, I'm talking. You can say whatever you want to later. So that was what Frank was working on, and he proposed it. Nobody made any comments about it, but we were going to have discussions about it. We haven't had that opportunity. But I think we're on the move. What I consider be version A ahead, with the caveat that version B come on to the next version. So we'll have both ones in front of the council. Council can look at both of them, make a decision on it, but I don't think we should hold off anymore. We need to get this thing.
So there's, hold on just a minute. Right. There's a motion to give this ordinance first reading. Is there a second to that motion? Then we can discuss it. Is there a second to David's motion? And then that motion fails for the lack of a second. Council can figure this out and we'll deal with it next month. This has been going on since October, folks. You know, we're gonna have to put our big boy pants on and get to work. So I believe that's the last item on the agenda. Is there any other business to come before the council? If not, we're adjourned.
Yeah.
Zero. Bottom of.